And welcome to a brand new show here as we have a brand new basketball season. Courtside with Callie Wheeler, presented by Walker Brothers Chevrolet, serving northwestern Pennsylvania for more than 100 years. And we're 2 games in, so this isn't quite the preseason preview, but I think it's an interesting view. You've got sort of 2 games that were 180 degrees from one another. The loss, couldn't throw it in the ocean in the beginning. You're chasing your tail. You make it close. The win, hot start, hang on to win. Good weekend, bad weekend, your thoughts? Did you meet your expectation? You've got a lot of new faces. We're going to get to that further on in the show. But 2 games, 1-1 record. How pleased were you with the trip to West Virginia?
I think I would have been more excited if we came out 2-0, but I think 1-1 is a great start for us. Going into it, we knew both games were going to be 2 very different games. Wheeling and Jesuit plays a pack line defense. They surprised us with a little bit of full court pressure that bothered us in the beginning, but once we settled in, the game slowed down. We saw where the spots were to attack. West Liberty, we had a little bit better game plan going in because we scrimmaged them the year before. They returned a lot of players from the previous season. We knew it was going to be an up-tempo style of game, and we really had to defend the 3-point line. But I think both games showed a lot of things that we did well and a lot of things that we need to grow on. And I think that's what this next week is about is, we fouled way too much. Our opponents got to the free throw line more than 20 times both games. I think that's something that we're really going to hone in on and learn from, and we turn the ball over relentlessly in both games. Those are 2 things that I think that I have taken away from both of those games that we can improve upon. If we can improve upon it, I think we could be a really tough team to match up against.
The one thing that I thought that was sort of odd, just based on the way you guys have played, in recent years, in the loss, you attempted 19 threes. In the win, you only attempted 8. Was that by design or was that the opponent? Because that's not really who you are. Usually the win is the 19 threes because you've made 7 or 8 of them. What was that all about?
That was a game day decision. So going into Wheeling, we wanted to really attack the paint. We wanted to start inside out. My team this year is very different from last year. We've got great size. We've got great depth in our post play. And I felt like our shot selection, in the beginning you said we couldn't throw it in the water, but our shot selection wasn't very good. We wanted to play more inside out, get some post touches, get some paint touches, and then find those rhythm threes. We came out jacking, and that was a big conversation going into West Liberty that, our shot selection has got to change. And I felt like we were more patient with the threes that we took. Morgan Gentile hit 2 really big threes in the second half there for us, but I felt like we were more selective. We were patient. We broke down the defense. We worked it inside, outside, and that's how we really want to play this year. We're Wheeling, I felt like first game jitters. Everybody's excited. Last year, we first great shot, take it. This year we're really hunting for the highest percentage shot, and I feel like Wheeling didn't really show our true identity.
So are we not going to anticipate balls flying off the wall and scoring 90 points a game, running up and down? That style was so much fun, but you do have a very different you'd have to go back 5-6 years to where size would be prevalent, or is it even further than that?
5 years, yes. Sierra Roston was, player of the year, defensive player of the year, and it's been a while since we've had a player like that. And I think we have multiple players like that in Jillian Fisher and Ava Haddad, and even Allison Kirby. She's still adjusting to how we play. I think she brings a different dynamic into that spot, and I think we've got great depth. So it is a little bit different, but the personnel is a little bit different in a sense that, Morgan Gentile, we have her now playing on the perimeter. Last year she was playing inside.
Which is her more natural position.
More
right?
natural, yeah. So, you see she's more comfortable. But with that size, we don't have the speed. We don't have that element with it. So against West Liberty, though, we did press, and I wish if we played Wheeling, we would have got up and just applied a little bit of pressure, because at the end we did that. And they turned it over and took some bad shots, didn't get in their offense. So I think we can do it. I just think we've got to do it at the right time.
Now, obviously we're still trying to feel things out. I mean, when you look at the box score, there's not the minutes don't necessarily match up. You probably have 9 girls that could start. In your perfect world, what's that rotation look like? I mean, 9's a big number. 8 is probably ideal. I mean, how are you going to figure that out? And is there going to be the 8-person rotation, or is it tonight's 8-person rotation?
I think it's going to be a game by game. I really do. And that was a game by game decision against West Liberty, starting Bailey Brinson, because Wheeling, I went with more of an offensive lineup, from evaluating practice, and I had 3 starters go 0 from the field. They didn't even score a bucket. So with West Liberty, I went with more of a defensive approach. You saw Jenna Bebe play 31 minutes, most in her career, because she brought such a great defensive element to that game and just played within her strengths. And I think it is going to be a game by game. I mean, we don't have players that are head and shoulders above each other. So I think as we develop, we're going to learn a lot about, who we are day in and day out. And right now we just don't have that consistency factor.
Quick timeout, more to come. It's Courtside with Callie Wheeler, brought to you by Walker Brothers Chevrolet, serving Northwest Pennsylvania for more than 100 years.
Factory Train Service, a full-service body shop that accepts all insurance and honest, no-nonsense deals on all new Chevrolets and used cars. Come in and see for yourself why we've been here for over 100 years. Call, click, or stop out. Walker Brothers Chevrolet.
Welcome back, Courtside with Callie Wheeler, brought to you by Walker Brothers Chevrolet, serving Northwest Pennsylvania for more than 100 years. You alluded to this sort of evolving lineup. The one question that I think is got to be, in your lead dog, I think, is probably going to be Haley Sims, and she probably has a ceiling that would put her in the conversation for maybe being a Player of the Year candidate. We've seen that from time to time, and I think now as she's getting older and kind of figuring this college game out, the consistency. But you will have a lot of mouths to feed, and that's a good problem, I suppose, as long as you're winning. But when you talk about you've got a whole bunch of girls that played last year in the up and down, frantic pace and scoring a pile of points and turning people over and running up and down, to where you've got some bigs now that you're trying to, how hard's that going to be, Callie, to make sure that everybody is, because that's a different deal for a lot of it. When you're at this level, you're going to be the lead dog pretty much every night from coming out of high school. But how are you going to work that in to kind of make sure that everybody buys in that, well, tonight the game plan's probably not going to line up for you to get a lot of looks because this is how we think we can beat this team?
Yeah, I think we talk a lot about, what's best for the team, and just trusting that going into it, I'm doing what's best for the team and for us to get a win. And I think that's, putting a lot of time in during practice, putting a lot of time in off the court and getting them to trust me that, these decisions aren't personal. These decisions necessarily aren't attacking a certain person, but it's what's best for the team. And as long as they trust me and my game plan, I think we saw that in West Liberty, that we can win on the road. Down the stretch, we were tested, and I felt like we did a really good job. Morgan Gentile came up with a really big play, and she came off the bench, and those are the opportunities and experiences that I hope they can grow from and also learn to trust me that I'm going to do what's best for the team.
The stat that I thought that was, I don't want to say most unique, but the one that I sort of migrated my eyes to, and maybe it's just being a local girl, but I mean the microwave that is Hope Garrity. She was 3 for 4 in a couple of minutes. How many players do you have, or do you envision that you can just, what a luxury. Hey, I need you to give me 8 minutes, and I expect you to score 10 points, and that being a realistic ask.
Absolutely. First off, hats off to Hope Garrity. I mean, for her to come off the bench, we weren't scoring in that period, and defensively, we weren't really locking down. And Hope is a phenomenal scorer, and she came off. She wasn't hesitant to pull the trigger, and then she caught fire. I mean, she missed one, but it was off the dribble, and she had to get it up. And I think hats off to her in her first debut as a freshman, that she wasn't hesitant. She showed what she can do. And I think it's just finding those games and those situations where Hope fits in. Right now, defensively, that was the game plan going into West Liberty, and she didn't fit technically into that game plan, but I thought she came in, provided good minutes for us, and I think we'll see more of Hope Garrity soon.
Now, moving forward, I feel like this is an odd. You only have 2 non-conference home games in the schedule, and then you've got the crossover coming up. In terms of where you're at, where you want to be, what specifically before break are you looking for most? I don't even mean record-wise. Where do you want to be in terms of how somebody gets integrated into the but what's your primary focus? Because it's sort of weird the way that the D2 world is, where the D1 world doesn't really get a break,
right?
Whereas you guys do actually sort of get a break. What do you want to in the lead up to that, and maybe with that break then be able to reset, to adjust some things, which could be a friend or foe depending on how you look at the schedule,
right?
With your record. But what are some of the things that you really want to see before Christmas break?
I think the most important thing is us defensively. I think we got to eliminate a lot of these fouls that we are putting teams at the line and giving them just free opportunities. I think that's number one, because the PSAC is a different beast. I mean, when you get into the PSAC, it's all about defense. Who's going to play consistent road defense and not put the team to the free throw line. I think that's an area where we really need to improve. And then secondly is really learning a lot about my new players. Ava Haddad, our first scrimmage, she didn't play much. She came off the bench and was a little hesitant, and then I thought she showed what she could do this weekend, and coming off the bench and producing. And then Allison Kirby, I don't think we've seen her yet really get into her role and what she can provide and what she can do. And Hope Garrity, we already talked about her. I mean, she's a phenomenal scorer, and I think she's one that can fit in. It's just getting that experience, getting that game time experience, and understanding, the D2 level of the game. Cassie Potts, I think that she's another one, freshman point guard. It's a big transition, and hoping to get her that experience so that, she's ready to come in here and play. But I think getting them that experience and really having them figure out what their role is on this team.
I don't think we mentioned Jillian Fisher had a nice start to the year. I kind of feel like she's one that you need to make a point to get going, because once she gets going, the rhythm seems to find her. But I feel like a lot of it needs to be by design. Was that part of the deal this weekend, and she just sort of
I think
one, and then they all started going in?
I think initially, in Wheeling, we obviously wanted to go to our all-conference player and Haley Sims right off the bat. But then, Jillian had a great production game in that Wheeling game, and the focus changed to her against West Liberty. But again, she battled foul trouble. I think if we can keep her out of foul trouble, that game's really going to open up for her, because she scored 5 straight against West Liberty. Haley had a nice feed to her, dump off for 2, and then she trailed in transition, hit a 3, and then she came down and picked up a ticky-tacky foul, and then, try to save her because she picked up her second. But I think those are things that we need to grow through and understand if we want to be a contender in the PSAC.
Well, there is episode 1, Courtside with Callie Wheeler, presented by Walker Brothers Chevrolet, serving northwestern Pennsylvania for more than 100 years. Thanks for taking some time with us, Coach.
Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you again next time.